Board games, it's what we're talking about. Choosing games to review, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this morning. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And over there, we might have a joke with a whole bunch of lovely folk. Look over there, and I say that bespectacled white person's name is Matt. And over there, with the reddish beard, it is DutchYoda, a name that we've agreed is weird because English is weird. And down there, have you heard about the person known as Anna Vassenberg? They all write and review games and talk about things. And do they have fame? That's the question. Do you feel like you have fame? Like maybe a very small amount of fame. Like fame is very relative, don't you think?
Well, famous and being recognized sometimes, but that's it.
You are recognized sometimes.
Yeah, I am.
Anyway, board games and choosing what games we will review. It's what we're talking about. Board games and choosing what games to review. I'm not gonna shout. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. Today is 395 of Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. So it is 5 more episodes until the grand finale of episode 400. And I hope you all saw my invite to join in, and hopefully you will be able to join in a wee bit. But today, it is also WillyCon in New Zealand, a great big convention with 1,100 people, or more, potentially. But here, let's talk about what's happening here. We are talking about choosing games to review, and we have Anna Vassenberg, Matt Warwick, and DutchYoda. So maybe we can have some sorts of introductions of some sort. So could we maybe start off with Matt?
The usual introduction.
Yeah, just kind of who you are, and whilst you give me a couple of seconds to paste in your little description then and put it into the comments, then you can talk about yourself for a moment.
Okay, I'm Matt. I am one half of the Offline Gamer, offlinegamer.co.uk, YouTube channel and podcast and occasional blog that we've been doing for 6 years now, I think. So, yeah. And as far as game goes, I like things that aren't too heavy. Not massively heavy, anyway.
And how about you, Yoda?
No, my real name is Dick, but yeah, we don't use it a lot on live streams because of reasons. I can't help it. I blame my parents. I did written reviews, and now I do video reviews on Budget Spelen. I'm currently working on my own English channel. The first review should come up sometime this month, so that's exciting. And I do a lot of live streams in the weekend on Twitch.
And finally, we've got the editor-in-chief, Anna.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Anna. I have been reviewing board games, I guess, for about 5 years now, something around that. I started playing board games because it was a fun thing to do with my friends. And at a certain point, I was just dragged in the whole community. I've been reviewing board games for Budget Spelen. I've been reviewing in English for the Dice Tower channel, and I'm also part of the Dutch Game Award jury, who awards a Dutch game every year with a prize.
And a quick hello, Rob. It is lovely to have you with us.
Hi, Rob.
And on the very off chance that anyone's watching this and thinks, "But Bez, you're a designer, you're not a reviewer. Why are you even part of this?" So I have reviewed. It's like definitely a weird thing wanting to be a designer and also wanting to review games. I just love games. I love sharing my opinions of games. I got started getting review copies to review even before I considered myself a reviewer. Before I never asked for them. Just people were like, "Hey, I liked that review that you wrote of our game last year. Here is a game," and I'm like, "Oh." And then I'm like, "Hey, I don't actually like this new game. What am I going to do with it?" And we might talk a wee bit about that and the notion of, also self-censorship a wee bit as we kind of. But yeah, anyway, I do like reviewing games. I've reviewed a whole bunch of games. I used to do that every Sunday, but I'll probably go back to doing that at some point. Anyway, so let's crack on with the regularly scheduled stuff. And let's talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights. Yay, Matt's back. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. Yay, Matt's coming back. That's a recent highlight. But also,
You beat me to it.
I played a bunch of routes yesterday. I managed to win as the Irie and then as the Cats, then the Irie. I really like playing those two factions. Still got a lot to work out as the Vagabonds, like lots of strategies, and the Woodland Alliance. And it's definitely, I love the app. It's just a great way to learn the game. And I've been messaging all the people. I think I've got about 3 people left to message, which I will hopefully do right after this stream. Hopefully, yeah, for episode 400 next Thursday. Matt, what have been some of your recent highlights?
So last weekend, Karen came up because it was her birthday on Tuesday. So we went to my local gaming store / cafe. If you can get the podcast's Instagram up, Bez, you can see some pictures of the lovely food that we were able to eat, which was very, very nice. It's one of the main, well, it's not the main reason I enjoy going there because I like the people and I like playing games, but the food is a very nice extra bonus, shall we say. But while we were there, we played Calico. Oh, yes, there we go.
I just ate and now I'm hungry.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
I've not eaten. Is that some sort of pulled pork?
That's pulled pork on fries, yes. And that is a chili chicken pizza.
Okay. That does sound very nice. And so, and there's Calico, in case you couldn't see in Matt's hands, but let's actually just make you bigger right now.
Make me big. There you go.
Calico. That's what we're talking about.
No, that way. It's a really nice game. Not much in the way of player interaction because you're all building your own little quilts on your own little cardboard things, but you've got objectives that you have to meet. So if you get patterns of or groups of colours together, then you get to claim little cat tokens that you can put on your quilt. The aim of the game is basically to attract cats to get points, and the person with the most points at the end wins the game. And it's really nice. I really like it.
That sounds super cute. How about you, Yoda?
Oh, recent highlight. Oh, I have no idea.
Other than this,
Well,
obviously.
I was close to Germany yesterday. I had to bring my son to his aunt. He's staying there for the weekend. And, well, I didn't recognize the entire area at all. It changed it so much. So, yeah, it was exploring the east side of the country back again. So, it was a little highlight for me.
And Anna, I see you've sent some photos for me to share.
Yeah, of my recent highlights. So on Monday, I did a stream. And there is my beautiful cat, Simba, sitting in the Carcassonne 20th anniversary box.
That's a beautiful box.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I think I have it here. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my copy to arrive. I did pre-order it for Karen's birthday, but obviously it hasn't arrived yet. So
It's very pretty. Look, it has that golden foil
Oh.
look, and they didn't do any other prints on the box, so it's purely a nice looking box without all of marketing stuff on it, I'd say. So it's very nice looking, and they have some extra little expansions in it, which makes it a little bit more of an interaction, in the game. And we did a stream on Monday, and it was a lot of fun. And on Wednesday, it was very beautiful weather in the Netherlands, so we went to the North Sea, to the coast, which is, for me, it's only 40 minutes on bike.
Nice.
So here we were, it was me and my boyfriend, and we were looking at all of the little jellyfish. There were a lot of little jellyfishes, so we had to be very careful where we stepped.
So who else was there?
My mother, we went with my mother and my boyfriend, so that's my boyfriend right there.
Nice.
So
Yes,
I'm pointing out for him where he can step without getting stung by jellyfish. It's a very cute photo that my mother made.
That looks like just a lovely time. And
yeah,
of course,
it was lovely.
Rob or anyone in the chat or anyone watching this after the fact, I hope you'll have a wee think to yourself and think about what are some of your recent highlights? What are some things that you've enjoyed? Because I think it's good to be, sometimes grateful and appreciate, a couple of things.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was so grateful for that we finally had such good weather that you could just go outside and enjoy it, especially in the Netherlands. There was a long time that it wasn't that great weather until now. And now we finally had 20 degrees and we're able to enjoy the outside. So I enjoyed it so much. Yeah.
Now, people will know what's coming up next. It is, of course, questionably quick questions. We'll wait about 1 minute for people to get in their questions. For now, the first question I always like to ask is, where are you? What time is it? Anna.
Unmute. I am sitting at my table, surrounded by some games, some boxes. I just got a new organizational tool, a whiteboard. Oh, it says in Dutch. It says Anna, so me, loves Peter, which is my boyfriend.
Oh.
I already wrote that down. I had to check if it worked. Look, and I got this very cute little eraser thingy. It's this tiny eraser. Look how cute it is. So I will put this up in the kitchen, so we will be able to know what we have to get and stuff like that, and wrote cute little messages on it. So, and here it's now 11:13, and that's just some stuff that's lying around me.
And you are also in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I'm in the Netherlands. Yes, still in the Netherlands, in Leiden. 40
Very
minutes from the sea. It's lovely.
Matt.
I am, well, geographically speaking, I'm the same place I always am. I am in the West Midlands in the UK, and it is 10:15 in the morning. You may notice slightly different surroundings because I am... So in my bedroom, I've got this built-in wardrobe, and it's got a little cutout, and I've got a drawer here and a shelf, and my TV is above me. But I've decided to convert this little spot into like a mini podcasting space. So I've got some acoustic foam on the wall, and I've got a screen there, and I've got a little mini computer up there, and I've got some color changing LED lights as well, so I can give myself a little bit of ambience.
Fancy.
Can you flip it back so we can see how much the LED lights actually impact?
Affect me, yes.
Yes.
What it does to your face.
Not just what it does to a white wall.
No,
So if I'm angry, I go red. If I'm turning into the Hulk, no, that's blue. Actually, that's blue. Where's green then?
When you're feeling blue.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, when I'm feeling blue. So it does make a bit of a difference. I can put it on actually colour change mode.
Oh, that's very dark.
Hang on, let me. There we go.
Oh, green,
hello.
there. Oh,
Oh, bling, bling.
I'm in a rave.
Fartsy
Party,
disco
party.
time.
Disco.
Morning party, dance party.
I can do that too. Look behind me.
So yeah, there we go.
There we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
That is quite the highlight. And
Disco.
so, Yoda, where are you? What time is it?
I think since last time I was here, I moved about an inch. So I'm still in Lelystad. It's 11:15.
I mean, you've moved.
It's
so
cloudy.
You've just come back to a very similar spot. Just to clarify, you haven't
Yeah.
just been sitting down in
No.
exactly the same
No,
space.
I just said I was away
Waiting for
yesterday.
Bess to
I explored
return.
the country.
Where are you, Bess?
Oh no, need to stream.
But I have the same LEDs behind me in the
Nice.
closet.
And it is 11:16, I guess, over there.
Yeah, now it's 11:16 here.
And of course, where I am in North London. I am in my bedroom, in case that wasn't previously obvious. I don't think I ever stated that, but I'm happy to confirm that this is, in fact, my bedroom. I'm not just in a communal space or in somebody else's bedroom. That would be a bit weird. But
Don't you mean
yes.
your
I mean-
boudoir?
Weird.
Hmm.
I mean, if you've had fun in that other person's bedroom, I don't consider it weird.
Yeah, but streaming from their bedroom would be a bit odd.
Depends on what website
Okay.
you're on.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to make that joke, Matt. But OnlyFans, that would be okay.
Brushing past that, I am in my bedroom. It is 10:17 now. We've had lots of chats, and if no one gets any questionably, and so it looks like no questionably quick questions today, but Rob says, we went to IKEA yesterday for the first time since forever. It's weird doing consumerist capitalism being a highlight, but under the circumstances, it really was.
Did you get anything to eat, Harper? Because the highlight for me of IKEA is always get the ice cream, get the hot dog, and all of that. Or some Swedish, I don't know how they call it in English,
Hello, Elaine.
Swedish balls.
I mean, I used to
lovely
work
to
over
see
the
you.
road from an IKEA for like 10 years, and I didn't actually ever go in until I stopped working in the area.
I
It was
get that,
peculiar.
yes.
I just had like an innate disdain of the fact that when you walk in, you've got to go all the way around. But everyone kept telling me how great the meatballs were.
So yes, there you go. Meatballs,
Oh, well,
ice
there you go.
cream, donuts. There you go.
All the things I cannot have anymore.
Oh,
Oh, because you're on a diet.
Yep.
Well,
Or you just
Has-
only eat that.
has anyone got a brilliant thing? Brilliant thing? What's a little thing which is brilliant? Chopsticks?
Not for me. I can't eat with
Chopsticks are pretty brilliant. I mean, I quite like chopsticks. They kind of
I'm
let
just-
you grab something a little bit more particular, if you know what I mean. Because with a fork, yeah, you can stab a little thing, but I think chopsticks have the ultimate precision out of all the eating tools. I think there's something fantastic about chopsticks, and then grabbing it and putting it into your mouth. I think that chopsticks are gosh darn brilliant. Although
These are
those
my
chopsticks over.
yeah.
I can't eat with chopsticks.
My chopsticks have 3 prongs on the end of them.
Well, sometimes two.
I'll tell you what I like, Bez. Here's a brilliant thing. I don't know if you can hear when I've got my window open. I can hear lots of bird song from the trees outside, and I find that very relaxing. So that's my brilliant thing: the relaxing sounds of nature.
I think it's muted by your audio card, your amazing magical audio card.
I haven't got that. I'm not on this PC. So, yeah.
I guess they're just not loud
I
enough
don't
for
know.
us to hear.
No, they're not massively loud at the moment.
It's a private concert from Matt.
Yeah, well, we've agreed. Birdsong is brilliant. And from the comments, electric lighting, yes, that is brilliant.
Oh.
Yeah, just whether it's LEDs or maybe a little bit less about the tungsten, but lighting in general, electric lamps. And of course you had to go through all the early lights to get to the lights that we had today. But back in their day, all the lights, they were pretty brilliant. And what else is brilliant? Fire.
Where would we be without electric lighting?
And fire.
Nowhere.
I like I particularly like the stoves, like the gas fires, which just ignite the fire straight away, instant heat, boom. That's amazing. It's like you have fire at your disposal. It's just like turn a knob, puts it down, fire. Is that not amazing?
Yeah,
Okay.
Don't get too enthusiastic. You sound like a pyromaniac.
No.
Yes. Well, I am not a fire starter. I'm not a twisted fire starter.
Twisted fast. Oh.
Okay. Anyway, so feel free to comment, ask questions, follow as we move into the main topic, of course, which is about choosing games to review. And so, yes, we have a couple of... Elaine agrees with fire being brilliant, and camping last weekend. Daughter had trouble the first night because her phone's alarm sound is bird song. And when the dawn chorus started, she said she was trying to turn her phone off. Wow. So this is, Miss Harper's first time being woken up by natural bird song. Wow, that's amazing. So it shows how isolated we are from the natural world, which is kind of sad, but anyway, let's talk about choosing games to review. Let's talk about how we chose our first games. Did you just choose games from your collection? Did you choose games that you were like, hey, I love this, I've got to tell people about it? Let's talk about those very first choices. Can you start us off, Anna?
Well, the first games that I reviewed, I think it was a video immediately. I did do some written content that was not a video, but I think my very first video was a game that I received from a local publisher. Grab the Sack, or that's the rough translation. And it was a speed game, and I just reviewed it because I got it, and I enjoy speed games, and it was an easy game for a first game to do. You don't want to start with like Twilight Imperium, let's go. You want something that you can easily digest, and it's also easy to make a video about. So that's why I chose that one.
That's really interesting. The first ever one being sent by the publisher. How did you make that relationship and connection?
Because we were a website that was already a suit from a bigger website. Because the first one that was the first video games, and then we made a new one with board games. We were already a little bit known in the publishing world. So that's why we already had that connection, and the publisher already knew our other website. And we also do.
You already had
news.
Budget Spell and sets up.
Yeah, exactly. And we already did news. We already had a community on the website and stuff like that. So it was more a culmination and extra things that we added with the reviews. An extra feature.
So why this game in particular, when we come down to it? Was it just random chance? Did the publisher kind of happen to reach out to you?
So that, but also, like I said, it was an easier game. So that's, I think, also was also a big part in why I wanted this to be the first one. Because it was a game and with a concept I was already familiar with. So I knew it was easier for me to get the concept across. Because I was already familiar with what a speed game, what that entails.
Okay, so something that you are familiar with, something that you feel equipped given your gaming knowledge, and of course the publisher chose you as you were a good fit for it.
Yeah, and also think because when I started, now it's a little bit less, but when I started like 6 years ago, there weren't that many girl reviewers, and there weren't that many reviewers that were as young as I was. I was 21, so I was probably the youngest. And I think that also played a part in why the publisher wanted me to review it, because you when the one reviewing it is already a different audience, or the audience that you want to get to, and want the people that are gonna watch it, you want them to get to play the game. You want a person that's reviewing it to represent that, I guess, to be a person that would play the game.
That makes a lot of sense. And how about you, Matt? What was the first game that you covered, and how did you make this decision and connection?
Well, in the early days, we weren't really doing reviews, so and I mean, even now we don't do a massive amount of them. So it tends to be just discussion about what we've been playing. So I mean, the few things we talked about in our early episodes were just we've been playing games for a few months now. These are the games that we've been buying and they're really enjoying, and just telling people about them. And I think that's sort of carried on over the years. We've been occasionally sent the odd game from a publisher to have a look at and review, but the majority of what we talk about is just what we like, because it's things that we're actually buying. There's not many games that I've bought over the last few years that I've got rid of, which is something I'm looking to sort out at the moment. So if anyone wants to buy any board games, hit me up. So it's just what do I enjoy? What types of games does Ray enjoy? And we play together, and we talk about those.
It's very much just, this is your life. It's you and Board Games in Bed. Although they've not podcasted for, I think, a year or so. But okay. Becky and Kelly are very similar. It's just, hey, here's some things that we like. And I think they've literally only reviewed 2 games. And I had the honor of being one of them, which I was very happy. But we'll get into the kind of getting review copies maybe a wee bit down the line, because that's an interesting thing when people start giving you stuff. And how about you, Yoda? How did you start? Was it just things that you already had? Oops, sorry, Yoda.
You muted me. Oh.
Yep.
I had to look up what my first review was. So I just did that, and it was a long time ago. The first review was a game I already owned, and short thereafter I did a review of a copy we received with Budget Spelen. And yeah, at some point we just get a list of games that are available for review, and then we pick what we want and who's going to do which review, basically. So that's how it works for me. And sometimes I review a game I bought myself.
So it sounds like Anna was very much your mentor.
Yeah, you can say that.
That's pretty cool.
She checked every spelling error and grammar error in my written reviews. That's why I switched to video reviews. So I just post them, and sorry if the sentence is wrong, I'm not gonna re-record it.
Well, after a while, I also learned with Dick that you have to. I think what's important so I've had a lot of people that started writing on our website, and I always think it's important to remember what the style is of a certain writer, and that's not necessarily your style. So you do have to check, what are the grammar errors and stuff like that, and give advice on, you structure this sentence like this. Does this get your message across the way you want to? But you don't want to get rid of the stuff that makes their writing unique.
Yep.
to give some perspective on that.
And I have a very technical background, so I write very dry.
Dick loves short sentences with a point at the end and then a next sentence.
Yeah, that's me. But I changed it a little bit.
Definitely, yeah.
I also come from it from a similar point as Matt, that, well, I wasn't a podcaster, at least not to start off with, although I will be, technically next Friday, I think, because my old internet radio shows, when I stop streaming, Jason's going to put them up onto Anchor FM for me, which is quite exciting. I've been recording little introductions to contextualize them because my views have changed in the past 4 years. Anyway, so when I started reviewing games on Board Game Geek, it was very much just, this is what I've been playing. I'm going to start writing comments, but those comments might be like 500 words because, I'm quite verbose. And this might be something that someone else might consider a review. And the first thing that I can, reviews that I can remember being like, oh yes, I really enjoyed this, and this is something that I need to tell the world about, was one where it was, review a game you've played 100 times or more. It was kind of like a challenge set by someone. It's like, you know what, Jungle Speed, that doesn't have enough reviews that really gets into the nitty-gritty of the game. And I would write differently nowadays, obviously, but back then I definitely played it 100 times, and I reviewed it maybe in a little bit more analysis than someone might review such a light game. And the other thing I did was reviewing just some games that I'd experienced and saying, yes, this is just a game I experienced at UK Games Expo 2011, back when I first went for the first time. And then I reviewed Zoom Zoom Kaboom and what's King Brick, now known as Cube Quest. But yeah, it was very much just games that I enjoyed. Now the question we've got to, thank you for lurking, Rob, and Stream Elements reminds us to have a wee bit of a stretch occasionally. So my next question is, do games reviewed tend to be those that you personally enjoy? Because for the most part, yes, I think I do give priority to reviewing and replaying games that I have personally enjoyed. And but now that I'm starting to move, it's only now that I'm starting to think, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to start going through my entire collection, including those games that I got just because they were £2 or £3 each, secondhand. And I'm not, some of them are pretty terrible and some of them I will never play, but I'm still going to say a quick goodbye to them and say, yeah, this is like just a very quick thing. But do you all tend to review just games that you enjoy? Anna?
Because I tend to review games that I receive, and that's mostly due to lack of time. I have to be honest here. For people that don't know, I'm a doctor, or in a year I'll be a doctor, but what I'm doing now is being a doctor. So I don't have a lot of time. So I prioritize games that I receive to review. But when what I prioritize in that is games that I know that I will enjoy. So I don't.
So presumably, you sometimes refuse games, and you say, "Yeah, that's not fit for me."
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to be honest to myself, but also to the publisher.
Yeah, and you're not being paid a decent amount, so you might as well enjoy what you're doing, right?
Exactly. It has to stay a hobby, and maybe we'll brush and touch on that later. But I've definitely noticed when getting review copies, for me, I have to be very conscious of if I want to play the game, because it is a hobby that you're doing. It's not my job. So for me, it being enjoyable and reviewing being enjoyable is very important.
How about you, Matt?
Pretty much the same. I think
on the occasions when we have been offered the odd game to be sent to us from publishers, it's you have to make a judgment call.
We're
That you would be
distracted by
interested in
Alex's
playing. What's
pun,
happened? Have I gone?
dissecting games. We're just distracted by the punnage.
Okay.
There has been puns. I'm sorry, Matt.
That's all right. So yeah, it's if someone offers to send me a game, the first question is, do I think I will enjoy it? Even if I don't know if I'll, do I think I enjoy it's probably not the right phrase, but is it the type of game that I would play? If someone was to sit me down in a board game cafe and say, here's this game, do you want to give it a go? If the answer would be yes, then it's the type of game I would say, okay, send me a copy. Occasionally people have said, we want to send you this RPG, and it's like, well, I don't play RPG, so there's no point sending it to me. So it's not necessarily a game that I enjoy, but it's a game that is of a type that I potentially might enjoy. Because obviously the whole point of reviewing it is to say whether you enjoyed it or not. So if someone only reviewed games that they definitely enjoyed, I think if you saw a game on their channel, then they like it. Is there any point watching the review?
So they like it, but by how much? Maybe they like it a little bit. Maybe they like it a lot. Maybe they think it's the best game ever.
True.
But I think what you said about the board game cafe is a good one, because that's exactly how I feel. I have to go and not and then if it's that feeling, and one of the two, I will get it or not. I'll be okay with it or not. It has to pique my interest.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And just going round clockwise.
I prefer to do games, to review games that I like. But the first opinion is based on how does the game look and what is the summary of the game. That will pique my interest or not. If a game is a disappointment afterwards, I will still do the review. So that does happen sometimes. You're muted, Bess.
Talking about reviewer copies, and I will shuffle people around a wee bit. So when did we start soliciting review copies? When did we actually go out and start not just accepting them, but and have we ever got review copies foisted upon us? Did we get people reaching out to us before we were reaching out to people? I mean, for myself, I know that after my review of King Brick, I was given a copy of Follow, which I never reviewed, and he said, hey, this is our next game. We really appreciated your Board Game Geek review of King Brick, and if you would talk about this, then great, but don't worry if you don't, and it was that kind of thing. And I was, And yeah, it was a very different game, and it was I've not honestly, I've not been excited to play it for all these years. That's the truth. But it was probably my first ever game that I said, yes, I am going to review this. Let me accept this review copy. Was Elementos, a 2-player abstracts game, which I think I reviewed on episode 2 or 3 of this show. But Yoda, what's your story with actually contacting publishers or getting stuff given to you?
Well, for Budget Speler, we just sometimes we have to request a list of upcoming games, just to make sure that we know which games are coming and which review copies we can request, and then within our team we just choose which ones we want to do. I have contacted some publishers, but currently I believe all of them just came back with a negative from no, we don't, just find the Dutch publisher. So there's that.
Matt?
Oh, yeah,
Just
sorry.
continue
Just keep
around
going around.
clockwise.
Okay. So I think it was about a year after we started when we first applied for press passes for the Games Expo, UK Games Expo. Obviously, that gets you onto a list of that they send out to all the publishers to say these are all the press people who are coming to our first email we got was from someone asking us to have a look at their deck of cards with letters on them. Not quite sure what happened to that. I think it faded into obscurity or something. But so that was the first. That was the first. You were the first person to actually ever email us to say, "Would you like to have a look at my game?" So you've got that honour. And then I think generally that's where most of our stuff comes from. I mean, companies like Board and Dice have emailed us a few times saying, "Do you want to send this?" I've never really gone and requested a review copy if we haven't been emailed from a publisher to say, "Go to our website and fill in this form." I wouldn't feel comfortable just approaching a random person or publisher and saying, and saying, send me a copy of your game, because I don't think I'm well known enough to do that. So.
And I love that. Yeah, I love that you cared, Aline.
Where did you? I mean, I'll flip the question around, because obviously that's from my perspective. But from your perspective, did you just get that? Did you just get the list of people who were going to the expo and just send an email out, or because you said in the first email, I think, that you'd listen to the podcast. So did you go and find out a little bit more information about all the people? Did you? I mean, is that how you first found us, through that list?
I honestly can't remember if I think I might have actually heard you anyway. Okay. I do like listening to podcasts. Yeah. I don't listen to every podcast that is for board gaming out there. There simply isn't time, but I am going to actually put up my podcasty thing, browse library shows. So yeah, this is like the podcasts that I listen to, and 90% of them are about board games. So there's not loads, but there are quite a few. And yeah, there's 3 unlistened episodes that I've got to catch up with. You're shaking your head thinking Bez is a bad listener. Why are you 3 episodes behind? Hey,
I'm not judging. I've got plenty of podcasts to catch up on myself. So
Oh, I assumed that was what the shaking your head was about, or was that entirely? I can't remember whether I had listened to it because of that or before that. But if I saw it on a list, Rob is judging me. Maybe not everyone in chat, but at least Rob. I don't like being judged. I'm judging you for judging me, Rob. But anyway, I, as a publisher, would not send something to someone unless I'd actually looked at their stuff. I would at least listen to 2-3 of the shows, even if it's like, okay, does this person have anything to do with the games that I make? And if it's like, you know what, maybe this is a game that they might enjoy listening to what they're all about. It's a mixture of, do their tastes fit? Do I like what they're doing? And if I was a better business person, maybe there would be a bit more of what size is the audience. But for me, honestly, especially back then, it was very much down the line. And the other thing is that, frankly, if you're selling a preview copy, by which I mean a pre-publication prototype copy, that's actually quite a bit more expensive. So a game that costs £10 in the shop might actually cost the publisher £20 to produce the prototype copy of, or a game that's £40 in the shop might cost the publisher £100 or so to produce. And so it is a fair whack. And the box being of like the most oh, Rob with the puns. the chat is judging. Well, it's a judgment call, I guess.
If we're all on this voice video chat and we're all judging you, does that make this a judgment call? That was terrible. Sorry.
Yes, it's a video call. Yep, I like it. That's a yep. Oh, yes, you can all judge me to make it a judgment call. But anyway, as a publisher, I think I do speak enough so because people can hear from me every day. But those are some of the things that pop into my mind. And if you want to hear more, then I promise I will be streaming at some point, even after episode 400, so people can ask me afterwards if they want. But for you specifically, Matt, I think it was, hey, this is me just guessing, but so it's like, hey, person's coming to the UK Games Expo. Okay, I want to get lots of reviewers. I've got hardly any press. I really want to get people. Let me check that they're actually interested. Let me check that they like my stuff. I want my stuff to be presented in an appropriate way. I don't want it to be, sent to someone who's not going to get it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I had that experience recently with, when we wrote our review of Alba and put it on our website, I say we, I mean Karen, and then we got an email from
Alba being the really big choose your own adventure book from Inside the Box.
And then we got an email from Pavel, who launched Stormweavers on Kickstarter a few weeks ago, and which was a very similar type of game. And so he looked at our review of that and then thought, well, these people are going to get what I'm trying to do. And so then he sent us a review copy of Stormweavers as well, which we did a video of. So there is, I think, pretty much everything I've got has either been through the expo or someone has seen something that we've already done and thought, well, this then looks like the type of game that they'll like, so we'll get in touch with them. But I say I've never gone out of my way to badger people to send me review copies of things.
As a publisher, I'm going to say that press list is really, really useful. And being able to find that UK Games Expo, that's a fantastic service that UK Games Expo does. And also Aircon started doing. Essen doesn't do anything like that, which is a bit of a shame. But being able to say, hey, let me look through the things. Okay, you review war games. Okay, I'm not going to send you my stuff. Okay, Owen Duffy, you know what? You're amazing, and I know you might not, but like, come over here and you might enjoy it because of X, Y, and Z. And okay, wow. And sometimes you're reaching out to someone because they are from a big website. Sometimes you're reaching out to someone because you enjoy their stuff. But at a convention where you've already got produced copies of your games, I think that any publisher should have, a certain percentage that they just give away.
I think the whole thing about having copies foisted upon you is pretty much based on your popularity. I mean, I've seen Tom Vassell walking around UK Games Expo and people just shove things in his face saying, look at this, Tom. Because they know, if he does review it, then there'll be a large audience for it. So,
and no, I'm not going to say anything. Okay. Anna,
what's the question now?
When did we start soliciting review copies? Have you ever gotten review copies foisted upon you?
So I think the for me the interesting angle here is because we review in Dutch, the amount of games that you can, as like Dick said, you get a lot of look at our Dutch publisher. And then you only have about a couple of publishers left that you can still, Nederlander Yoda. Okay, Nederlander Yoda. No, Nederlander Yoda it is. You only have a couple of publishers still left, So that's a very different thing to approach because we do it in Dutch, so it is less interesting for English publishers to send us games, or we do have a big enough audience, but you cannot share it in another language, I guess. So it's a little bit more difficult to approach publishers. I'm not really the person to approach publishers proactively. A little bit in the same way as Matt already said. I don't really feel comfortable. I guess because of the Dice Tower, I could go around Essen and say stuff like that, but it would just feel very uncomfortable and a little bit too full of myself, I guess, to do that. So I only show interest in a publisher if I'm truly interested in a game. So there has to be a feeling, I guess, and not just I want free games. Because I also think otherwise you cannot build a relationship with a publisher.
I mean, it's interesting because at a certain point, it's like, well, if you love the game so much, why don't you just buy it?
But you have to, then it's more like how Matt said it. So you have to be interested in it. You have to be interested in the catalog that the publisher has. And interested in what they publish. And if you think those are games that should be recognized, I guess, and should get a bigger audience or whatever. Different reasons can be.
It's, yeah, thinking about the catalog and also the other thing that Matt said of, would you want to buy this game? Maybe no, but would you want to try it at a board game cafe? Yes, and also with the catalog, yeah, building that relationship is a good call.
Yeah.
I know that Flavian Lozier is setting up the distribution channel for Hachette, which includes obviously Gigamic, who I'm very biased about because they keep paying me money every year, twice a year, in fact. I kind of wish it was like 4 times a year, but anyway, let's not talk about let's kind of sidestep that entire topic. I'm very getting tangential today. I do apologize. But Flavian Leslie, we were talking about, yes, you know what? Not just because I'm biased, but genuinely, at least 1/3 of these games, I can say, yes, some of them I definitely like. I've played them. I already really like them. Some of them I'm like, you know what? I can definitely see these are the kinds of games that I am interested in. And honestly, yeah, then there's the whole separate bias that comes into it because of I am who I am. But yeah, if that was where, and I'm going to, so firstly, hello, thank you, Elaine, for being here. It was lovely having you, and I do want to acknowledge all the amazing puns that have been going on. If you say something based on a bad experience, it's a grudgment call. If you are most interested in sugar content, it's a fudgement call. If you like a little push, very well done, Yoda, it's a nudgement call. And you could say that this is a 50% Dutchment call. And if you phoned the bank to talk about making a deposit, that's a lodgement call. Yep, sure. Sure. And yep, this is just getting worse and worse. If you keep your produce fresh and cold, it's a fridgement call. I would like to talk about that bias, because obviously, if I am reviewing, I'm going to talk about Corridor because I've got it right here. I've unfortunately not managed to, which means I've not managed to play it for at least half a year. But yes, Corridor is a game I genuinely love. It's genuinely one of my top 10 games. But given that I am being paid money by the publisher of it for unrelated reasons, can I remain unbiased? How can we avoid being mere advertising rules? Am I able to ever be as unbiased a reviewer as you? Because frankly, the worst that can happen to any of you is that you stop getting sent review copies. And that's not a bad thing. So yeah, how do we connect with publishers and how do we avoid jumping into that depths of bias? Any thoughts on this? Matt, are you able to jump in or?
Yeah, I was just thinking because obviously it's a good question, isn't it? Because I guess as a reviewer, you have to be seen to be impartial. Yeah. But then we're good. We're. I like to think that we're good friends. So people might turn around and say, if you ever give me a game, am I going to look at it more favorably because you know I like
This
you.
is very true, because genuinely, and I was talking to one of my siblings who said, yes, in the music industry, most music people are friends with a lot of the artists whose albums they cover. And can you remain impartial? I mean, you
No,
have to.
You cannot. That's just a simple answer. I mean, we can all say it in a different way and be like, I try to be and non-partial. And of course you try to be, but you will have a bias.
Yeah.
And try to be, even when you don't like the game, you will try to be more friendly about it, of course. And you try to do that with every person that you review a game with, but when it's a friend, it has different stakes. There are different stakes involved.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose that friendship that you have. So of course, at least when if it's not really a publisher, there's a difference between if it's a publisher, I think, and if also you have a real connection or a real bond with the person behind it.
I think
Those are two different things.
The best you can do is disclose it up front and say, look,
Exactly.
I know this person.
Yeah.
But then you also got the added pressure. If a friend of yours gave you a game that you didn't like, would you just say, actually, I'm not going to put a video of that out because I don't want to upset you? So you might tell them privately, but you wouldn't publish it.
I will tell them privately. I have had, of course, had friends that want me to look at their game that is not finished, for example. And I always notice with myself that that makes me a little bit anxious because, like you said, you have these different roles, and you just feel in that moment that those roles kind of go through each other. I don't know how the perfect term to say it in English, but it gets a little bit you get in that gray area, of being a friend, but also someone that makes a judgment call on if a game is good or not. So yeah, that is a difficult thing. And for me, what I've done in the past is I try to help them, but I will not review it.
That makes a lot of sense, because you feel like by reviewing it, you would be doing a disservice to your audience.
Yeah, so it's not really even a conscious thing, I guess, or a policy that I have, but it's just more of a thing that has evolved in that kind of way. I will help you with your game, and I will be honest with how the rules can be better and stuff like that, but I do not feel comfortable reviewing it then.
But then the question arises, at what point do you pass that threshold of being so friendly that you will not review a game? I mean, I even think you don't have to be really friends with each other, because as soon as you help someone make a game or be there in the pre-production phase, I already don't feel comfortable reviewing it, regardless if you're friends or not. That's just an extra layer on top, I guess. Because my question was then going to be, like, could I send a game to you if I felt, okay, this is a game that would be something that Anna Vassenberg would enjoy? And secondly, as you have more and more contacts with a publisher, as long as they aren't a jerk, you are going to intrinsically become more and more have some feelings of amiability towards them. It's just the nature of any business relationship that there is a degree of friendship which emerges.
Yeah, and I also think, the board game industry, it's just a small industry as well. It's getting bigger, but it's not like video games. So you do have those personal experiences with people, the faces behind the game. You have that more. That's just a given.
I've seen examples in the not in the gaming space, but
this is why I don't make friends with people so they can review my games without them being constantly reminded of how awesome I am.
I mean, that's not something we're reviewing, how awesome you are. So that's just a fact.
Yeah, and Rob echoes exactly what you said. It's such a small industry. Trying to avoid professional dealings with
Yeah.
friends is hard. But
And we're not saints, you know. We shouldn't try to pertain that this image of that we're saints. We're friends, so it happens. Where people work together, it just happens.
But yeah, there's an Australian YouTube channel I watch which do reviews of computer hardware components, and I mean they've been, well, I don't know if they've been blacklisted, but certainly they're very honest, and if they don't like a product, they'll say it, and that's led to, in some cases, some companies not sending them stuff. But you know, the integrity is the most important thing. I mean, you know, if you really want to review something and say how rubbish it is, you can always just go out and buy it, I suppose, if that's an option for you. So, well, that's a different example, isn't it? Because I guess that's more objective. You can objectively say with a piece of computer hardware, this has a problem. This is not as good as this one. Whereas games are a lot more subjective.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also I think with games, when you compare them to video games, it's more of a social experience. So it already is a little bit more. I guess there are more feelings involved with that than with a piece of hardware.
I think that's as you bring more human agency into the game, and whether that's through other players, like you get in a multiplayer game, as board games tend to be, versus, I think that's the thing about video games, that most of them are one-player experiences. So I'm not reliant upon people playing with me a certain way. Whereas if I was reviewing, if I was reviewing Call of Duty, that's mainly multiplayer, I think, isn't it? But yeah, if I was reviewing the online facets of that, I would be very dependent on the people that I'd happen to play with, even if that's online, I think. But then by the same notion, I think that story games, RPGs, are even more player dependent and all about the agency and what people bring to it. But Yoda, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah.
I mean, you review Portal games, right?
Sometimes, not all of the time. Sometimes I let them be reviewed by others. For example,
sometimes you
Anna did a
also-
review of Detective, not me. Luckily, her opinion on Detective was almost exactly the same as mine, so that worked. Yeah, but I do a lot of work for Portal, and yeah, that makes me biased towards Portal games, of course. So I try to avoid doing review for every game that they do. Just the bigger titles. If nobody else is willing to review them, I will review them. So yeah, and yeah, sometimes you want to be you're accidentally going to be positive, but if you want to prevent that, sometimes you can flip the other way around and just unintentionally just be more strict about it, or just, for example, if you're if you're a coach and your son, your child is on your team, yeah, you can be either prefer giving them preferences or be extra strict to them. It's hard to stay perfectly in the middle, and I have the same feeling for when I do reviews with Portal. Sometimes I'm looking extra strict. Do I see something that's wrong with the game because I like it so much? And sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, I know this is not perfect, but I like the game so much. It switches back and forth between those opinions.
And Alex asks, how many Star Wars games have you reviewed?
0.
Is that a conscious decision, or?
No, I didn't review one, Anna. Outer Rim was reviewed by somebody else. It was done by Vincent.
You're right.
But yeah, this is a really interesting, parts of the discussion, and I think ultimately you are right, Anna, that yes, if you are involved with the creation of the game, you can't, that is going to bias it. If I give Matt a game that's based around food, Matt's going to be probably like it more than an average person. if or you know what, like we all have biases in taste. Like if you give me a game which can have a stalemate condition, some people don't mind about that, but I detest games which can go on infinitely long. If your game has the mathematical possibility of going on in like for a year, because you know there are many games that could hypothetically go on for a year, like Flux, if you get the bad draw and things.
But isn't it wrong to call it a bias? Because I think I would just call it a preference in that case.
That's true.
Because a bias means that, you know, at least in science, that you make a conscious mistake or an unconscious mistake about how you perceive something. I find it a little bit difficult to explain or find the right words in English to
So a bias is something that clouds your judgments or affects your
without you
perceived
knowing
preferences.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fair point. And I guess, yes, we need to be aware of our own preferences, but then if I review something and I don't make it clear that these are my preferences, then that's also doing a disservice to the audience. If I were to review you know, a 4-hour war game, which, you know, I have played some games that are not the usual games that I play, and I've played 18xx games. But if I reviewed one of them, I should say, hey, this is where I'm coming from. These are the kinds of games. But then how much of that do we expect the audience to just understand? But then, yeah, the other thing is specifically to the publisher, I guess, how much, yeah, I don't know. I'm just grappling for things. Does anyone else have anything more to say on this thing? Let me move on. When do we feel ready to review something? Is there a certain percentage of content that we feel we should have experienced, or at least looked at? Is there a certain number of games played that we feel we need to have? I know some people have played games without playing them and said, hey, I just cannot play this, but I'm going to give my overview based on that. Some people play, you know, do the first impressions. How do you feel about all of this, Matt?
I mean, most of the stuff I do is first impressions, as you know. So it will be, we've just played this game, here's our initial thoughts of it. But I wouldn't feel like I was comfortable writing a proper review of a game until I played it 2 or 3 times, maybe with different people, just to get a nice range of opinions. And also, you know, people find different strategies and ways of playing games that you may not have considered. That's pretty much, you know, I think after 2 or 3 plays, I think you've got a pretty good idea of whether it's a good game or not, especially if you're playing it with different people. That was a very short answer, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Well, I agree with you. Sometimes the player count matters, so sometimes it's, yeah, it's a purely solo game. Yeah, I will walk 2 or 3 times through it easily, but yeah, sometimes a 2-player game is totally different than a 4-player game, so you have to at least check those variants. Yeah, sometimes you get a feeling right away from a game of, like, this is super good or this is super rubbish, or sometimes like I feel I'm missing something, I should play it again. And yeah, it depends on the game basically. If I don't like the game after the first play, it's hard to get it more and more back on the table just to do a proper review. It's probably like, yeah, I just didn't like it and keep it superficial.
This is really interesting, the notion of what is a proper review, because both for you two, Matt and Yoda, have said, okay, I wouldn't do a proper review, but is a proper review then something where you feel like, okay, my tastes probably aren't going to change and you can be confident in that? And do you have anything on this, Anna?
I think it's just important to disclose at the beginning what the concept is of how you're gonna review the game. So I review games also with my sister Nora, and she does not really play board games, except maybe when she's in a pub and plays some cards, and with me. So I have specifically been reviewing with her because I think it is also interesting to hear her side of if a game works for her, especially with games that are on the family side of things. Because as a gamer, you want to know if you can, for example, put them through Carcassonne. Are they going to enjoy it? Because that's going to be the people you're going to play it with. And a lot of reviews that I see are more of a gamer point of view on if Carcassonne works or not. And for me, that wasn't that interesting. I was like, that's not. It is more interesting to hear from the people that you're going to play it with. So that's why I put Nora in those reviews to hear that aspect of it.
It's an interesting point, though, because I mean, our discussions at the start were of sort of that nature because we'd not really been into board gaming that long. But I think then over time, and you'll probably have this problem with Nora, she's becoming more of a gamer as you introduce her to all these games. So then do you need to find someone else who's not a gamer to get that perspective?
You're no longer good enough, Nora.
Yeah.
Next. Her heart would be broken. I think it's more of the concept of how that person plays games, because she is really not for Nora. She's not into hobby at all. She does not consume any board game content. She just plays games with me, and then I put her in front of the camera, and she tells if she likes it or not. So for me, she does stay that person, but it is a very interesting thing that I've definitely, of course, thought about, because you have to be conscious of that.
Yeah, it's a game that she's playing now. It might remind her of a game she played 6 months ago, and then is that clouding her judgment, or is it giving her a different perspective than she would have had if she hadn't have played that game originally?
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. But for me, it's also always important to what makes a casual gamer, and is she still in that category? And as long as she is in that category, because she is not playing Dungeons and Dragons on the weekend and stuff like that, and watching Dice Tower.
I wonder if there's a market for a YouTube channel where someone just gets a microphone and walks down the street and just grabs a person and says, right, we're going to spend 20 minutes playing this now.
Yeah. Or Happy Salmon, now.
I would be down for doing that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you doing that, Matt, but I could totally be the presenter. If you want to do the filming, I would
people eating fish and chips, and you'd be there like, Rob, your name is Rob, you're going to play this game now.
If I see a camera and a microphone on the street, I just turn around.
Run away.
I like this blind reviewing, yes. I think that genuinely, this is another tangent, but genuinely, I did so much of this within a bind back before it was called Yogi. And yes, kind of just grabbing people in the pub or in the park on a sunny day. Like, basically, there was a lot of tourists possibly back when London, when we had people flying in internationally, those days. Anyway, so just going around and saying, I think that there are some games that are light enough that you could get away with this. I think that Double, for sure, looking around, what do I actually have that is light enough? I can't see anything that's, except for Battle Sheep might actually be light enough. I don't know. Actually, some abstract games, you might be able to get people to play them with you, potentially, in a pub. I think it would be fun to try.
Don't come with a big box of Gloomhaven and says, hey, let's play this.
Timeline, yeah, that would be a good one.
Happy Salmon, like I said.
Twin It, Doodle Rush might work.
That obscure letter card game I was talking about earlier, that might work.
I don't know, maybe.
In all seriousness, you don't want to approach people who are coming out of coffee shops or people who are actually walking. You want to approach people who are sitting down on the grass in the park on a sunny day. Back if one day in the future we're allowed to approach other people and it's totally okay and there's not a big risk of viral transmission again, but also anyone in a pub, because once we're allowed to mingle, it's like, hey, you're here you want to chill out with your friends, go out, say, hey, I'm demoing
For
this.
Asmodee, I sort of did this, or Asmodee, I don't know how you call it. How do you call it in English? Asmodee?
I say
Asmodee.
Asmodee.
Some people do say Asmodee, I think. So
for Asmodee, I did demo games at festivals, which was the funniest thing ever. You had all these people that were high on drugs and alcohol, alcoholic beverages, that were like in their 20s.
you're not doing much to dispel the Dutch stereotypes, Anna.
I'm sorry. Yes, it was fascinating. And I just walked around. At some point, I just started walking around where people were eating, the eating area, and I just said, "Okay, this is double. I can explain it in 5 seconds. You want to play this game?" While they were eating their fish and chips, and it worked perfectly. So double is a good one for this. Even
Please
if
wash
people
your
have
hand before
alcoholic
touching the
beverages.
card.
Yeah, that's my card. Go away. And then I had these mini versions of double that I could give people, the winner of the games, and that worked. That worked perfectly. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, oat would be too much.
I think there's definitely something that is almost like a holy grail of, is your game simple enough to be played in that manner? And I think but yeah, for sure, this is almost like stress testing the game. It's not just, hey, let's play Carcassonne with gamers, let's play Double with a family, but let's play Carcassonne with the family. That's not gaming at all. Let's play Double with people who did not even expect to play a game. And yep.
If you want an answer on that question, Aquasulis, I can tell you, Throw Burrito works great with people that have been enjoying themselves a lot. Yeah.
So,
but how is their aim with Throw
remember that
there is not. That's why it works so well.
In theory. So, the final question is, do we review everything that passes through our life? Or do we get rid of games without reviewing them? Without even mentioning them? Because I understand when people are like, hey, here's a big list of things. I don't want to spend my time doing a full-length review, but I'm just going to tell you, hey, this is something that I got, and this is why I'm just getting rid of it. But if you don't ever even mention these games, then doesn't that risk propagating excessive positivity and consumerism? Yeah, what do you think?
If someone's gone out of their way to send me a game, I will review it. There are games that I have in my collection that I have never played, so therefore can't review them. So I guess that's the thing. If I've played it, then I'll talk about it on the podcast or make a video of it. And as you know, if someone feels that they want to send me a copy, then I'll obviously do it, because I think if you don't, then people might again at my small size, it's if someone sends me something and I don't review it, that will mean that they may not send me something else in the future, because they're like, well, there's no point sending it to because he won't talk about it. But the big ones probably get the big reviewers probably get more games than they can review. But yeah, I think it depends on how popular you are. But then also the more popular channels can afford to be a bit negative as well, because they've got this thing where, as I say, if they give a game from a publisher a negative review, the publisher's still going to send them their next game because they know it'll get coverage. Whereas if I was to do that, someone might turn around and say, I'm not going to send you my next game because you didn't like my last one. So do I feel more pressure on me to review games positively? Maybe I do. But as I say, I tend to only choose games to review that I will probably like anyway. So, and I haven't been in that situation yet. Every game I've been sent to review by someone is a game that I have enjoyed. So.
Oh, me not. Nope.
Nope.
I've had that many though.
Brutally honest.
Yeah, I think
has
Board
cost
and
me.
Dice have sent me 3 or 4 games over the years, and as I Bez sent me River Plus Plus, and I've had a couple of others, and they've all been games that I enjoyed. So I guess I'm lucky in that regard.
So, if you're with those games that you mentioned that you've not played yet, are they going to be some of the games that you sell, Matt?
No, I've got I'm looking at my BGG played list, and I'm only selling games that I have played and maybe a few years ago, and haven't played again since. I'm having to go through it quite carefully and decide what I do and don't want to get rid of. But I have said I'm not going to get rid of a game until I've played it at least once to decide if I do want to keep it or not.
And all of these, if there are games that you've chosen to get rid of, there'll be things that you've already decided, you've already talked about how maybe you didn't like it so much. Is there something incumbent upon reviewers to remind people out there, wow, there is so much stuff out there, and maybe this might not be for you because it wasn't for me because XYZ?
Well, you do get that thing where people will watch your channel if they feel they've got similar tastes to you, because then they obviously get a good idea of whether or not they like the game. But for me, I mean, on the subject of getting rid of them, it's more of a case of have I got 3 or 4 games that are similar enough that I can, get rid of one of them without affecting my collection too much. Do you know what I mean? If you've got 5 set collection games, you can probably get rid of 2 or 3 of them because they're all very similar. So
I think people like hearing about this, especially from smaller peeps. It's kind of like, okay, gets a sense of what they like, what they don't like. And if they're saying that of their 5 set collection games, these are the 3 that they chose to keep, maybe that gives me
that's true.
some sort of... And Alex asks, is it a funding issue? The idea that views dictate success, changing the way you approach the game selection?
I think the more views you have, the more liberal you can be. Liberal is probably not the right word. Less picky, maybe.
Like, you don't have to
worry about upsetting people.
I guess when there's only one publisher sending you games, it's a very different thing than you have hundreds of publishers sending you games. Then you're not really going to miss that one publisher that will maybe be offended by what you said.
Yeah.
And it's such a crowded space at the moment that, if that one publisher might decide not to send you something, but they're still sending it to 30 other people, so they don't really care that much. So
it's certainly a difficult one because I think there's an equal number of big names and tiny little names clamoring for attention on both sides of the equation, the publishers and the reviewers. Well, what do you think about this, Yoda? Do you if you're getting rid of a game, would you make sure that you've mentioned something about it, or would you just prefer to not talk about the game at all?
Well, basically, since I request review copies, I give myself a solid contract that I have to review them, even though I might not like them at the end. So yeah, negative reviews will show up sometimes. And getting rid of a game, well, we have a overall library for budget spelen, so every review copy is technically available for everybody else. It's just a question, how do we get the game over to the other people? So, but yeah, if I review a game that I bought, I already like it and I plan to keep it. And if it's something I requested, I'm not keeping the game. It's going in a general library, so it's not mine anyway.
And how about you, Anna? How do you take any steps to avoid excessive positivity, or is it just the nature of the beast that by the time you've gotten something, it's going to be a game you like? And so
I'm I'm not shy to be brutally honest. If I enjoy a game, so I've had designers of the games that contacted me personally to tell me what they didn't and did not like about what I said about their game, and that is an extra level that you have because the board game industry is that small that makes it also a little bit more scary, to be honest, if you like it or not. But for my integrity, it's always very important. And I tend to play the games that I do not enjoy more often to be really, really sure that the things that I don't enjoy, that they are objectively, don't want to say bad, but a lesser aspect of the game, so that my opinion is justified. So I will try to play the game with different groups of people and try to keep my opinion away to see if how they react to how they play the game. And that's also, I think, that whole extra aspect of when you have a game that you enjoy less, that at least for me, I really want to make sure that it is correct, my judgment. So that I will play the game more often. And it's not an enjoyable experience, of course, if you don't like the game. So that also is an important reason why I do really want to be conscious of what I choose to review. But it does happen. Yeah, it does happen because, like Dick said, we get sent lists of games, and then we choose for with each other, with the people that review games for British Spelen, who is the best fit and who would like to play or review the game. And sometimes then you do get games that you made a wrong judgment call, and it is not a good fit. That just happens. Or, for example, a game last year that I really did not enjoy. It was from a Dutch publisher, and it was his first time design. And I did not realize that before I got the game, but I thought was okay. It's a little card game, so I can just review it quickly, even if I do not enjoy it as much. It's just a little card game, so I can do it quickly. But then it turned out that it was for me, it was a shitty game. Yeah, that just made it so much more painful that it was his first design, and he reached out to me, and I was so mortified. But I kind of knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, it's good to hear that there is this, I think there is a sense of obligation that, I don't know, I don't think obligations should be ultimately honesty and transparency. If you're able to say to your audience, you know what, if I play a game and I don't like it, I'm just not going to review it. That's fine, as long as your audience is aware of that. And then maybe they can just be reviewing the game, watching the review to see exactly what you enjoy about it, because the fact that it's on your channel means that there's something to like about it. On the other hand, I'm probably going to get rid of Blackmail, which is a game that I've read the rules of, and I spent an hour talking about it with my ex-housemate, who was also a gamer, and we were like, yeah, this is so bad. Nope. It's one of those things where, yes, if we had infinite time, then maybe, we would be...
But we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I had that with Billy Kerr, The Troubled Life of Billy Kerr. In the end, I didn't review it. The difficult thing with that was it was also a campaign game. And it is called The Troubled Life of Billy Kerr, right?
Holding on to Troubled Life of Billy Kerr, yeah.
Is that the one where he's in the hospital and you have to...
yeah.
Because I saw that and I thought it looked quite interesting, but...
Yeah, I hoped it was quite interesting, but it turned out to be very dry co-op game where there was this story, but those mechanics were kind of two separate things, I guess.
Right.
And for me, at least. And I really hoped that it would have been a good hospital game. But it was like just pushing these cubes around to like palliative care and making sure that his heart was still going, making those kind of choices in a like pandemic kind of way. just so this just didn't work for me because it was a
it
campaign
was
game.
really about the card flipping for sure. But like here it is, like that's the thing. Like I am biased because I've watched a lot of Michael Fox on stream, and I've had Michael on my show a few
Me
times.
too.
And now maybe there's a little bit of bias, and I think this is a bias rather than a preference, but I don't know whether it's a bias or a preference.
It's a bias because it is because of
the next thing I'm going to say. No, I know the friend is a bias, but the next thing is that I appreciate games that are trying to push, the envelope of gaming, even if they don't succeed.
Definitely.
So is that a bias or a preference?
That's a preference.
Yeah, preference for new things, I guess, or new mechanics.
Yeah, so I guess I have a preference for novelty, and I am willing to overlook certain things if there is enough novelty, or indeed if it's got some certain aspirations.
And so that was what I found it hard with that game to review it, because exactly what you said, I have that preference, and it pushed the envelope about what a game can be and what kind of theme you can do. But in the end, I really, really, really did not enjoy it. So I had just like this hard struggle with okay, I want it to be this, but it is this. Shit, okay, how can I cannot bring those two together. What am I gonna do now?
This is a difficult thing, and at that point, how much of the campaign did you feel like you had to play through? Because
I have played 5 games, so I played like 5 games because I was like, okay, I have to play, and after 5 games, my boyfriend was like, Anna, this is not gonna, your opinion is not gonna change. We can still read the whole story because we wanted to know the whole story of him, so we got all of the cards because it's a story game. And just read all of the cards. So that's what we did in the end.
Is it like, how many chapters is it meant to be? Like
8
10 or 8? Okay.
8 or 10, something like it. It's been 2 years. So
this is an interesting thing, like the whole notion of people reviewing My City, for example, even before they have gone to the end. And that game changes quite a bit. So if you've only played, a certain percentage, is it, again, you don't want to just say, I'm going to not give it a negative review, but I think it's interesting what you did with actually opening up the content, because at least then you can say, okay, I can make some assumptions based on how it went. Oh, actually, you know what? In My City, maybe at chapter 12 gets really interesting for you, and you can put that into a review. I guess that for me, I only got to this point, but I think we have to be willing to. It sounds like ultimately, when we look at the entire discussion we've had, it feels like we are all trying to choose games that work for us. We're all trying to choose games that we will enjoy, because ultimately it is a hobby. And I know that Antoinette, who wasn't here, was saying, won't the discussion just be a case of, well, we choose the games that we enjoy? And for sure, I think that is partially what we've said in a very long-winded way. But we've also, let me bring up the recap, wrap up banner. We have, of course, chatted about unrelated stuff like being by the beach and playing Carcassonne, or birds playing drum and bass, and starting from different places. We've had a bunch of puns as well, but I'll overlook them. We talked about, would you agree to play it at a board game cafe? That can be maybe a nice way to think about the nature of whether you should accept this game for review or not. We've talked about not really seeking out publishers, and there are just so many people making games and so many reviewers that I think that's a good situation, that neither is indispensable to the other. And I think ultimately you have to be almost willing, if you want to have a genuinely honest review, you have to be willing to break that relationship. And when truth comes down to it, you have to be willing to say, if this person were no longer my friend, or if this person were no longer willing to give me a job as a designer, like if they were no longer willing to publish my designs, or if they were no longer willing to have me work for them as a reviewer because I badmouthed their game, does that matter to me? And I think in order for it to be an unbiased, honest review, I think the answer to that has to be a resounding no, which I think we can't really, I don't know if anyone can hand on heart say, no, it doesn't matter to me at all. I think, as you said, Anna, there is always bias. And we just, yeah. Because there are so many friends here. We talked about biases versus preferences. We talked about trying it multiple times, especially if it's a negative review. We talked about what is a real review. And maybe I can say, hey, this isn't a review. This is just my quick opinion of the game, which people say, well, that's a review. But it's like, hey, designer or publisher, you don't have to worry that wasn't a review. That was me just giving my opinion of why I got rid of this game. We talked about playing it with a target audience, and that, yes, we do tend to talk about everything once it has been given to us. And then we've got some celebration of the puns. And but do we have anything else to say at this point? Matt, Yoda, Anna, do you have any last words?
Well, I still have the play holding on, so now I'm scared to start.
It's a very interesting concept, so definitely try it out.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have enjoyed this show and if you want to check me out, then of course check out me, Stuff by Bez, basically everywhere. Twitter.com/StuffBez, Instagram.com/StuffBez, Twitch.tv, where you're probably watching, Twitch.tv/StuffByBez, YouTube.com/StuffByBez for all the old episodes, and StuffByBez.com/Discord will redirect you to that place. I will leave and actually just share all the links. And please check out the LDEC design contest and typography contests if you haven't already. I cannot express enough how much I hope that people contribute something interesting for 2021. And I am really looking forward to seeing, even if you don't feel like your game design is very good or your typography is very good, still give it a go. And you'll honestly, because it's the first ever year of the typography contest, I expect everyone to be afraid to enter. So you will still maybe even get some prizes, and you'll still get some appreciation from me. But yes, let's go round. And Matt, where do you like to be found?
I mean, online. I don't know if I'd like people to find me in person, but online, yeah. QB.com is my website. All my personal links are on there. But the podcast stuff is offlinegamer.co.uk or Togcast on social media. And yeah, everything's on the screen there.
And Yoda, where's your favorite place to be found?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DutchYoda Plays. Just DutchYoda on Twitch, where I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Except not this Saturday because I'm in so many streams right now that I'm not planning to do a stream myself. Yeah. And yeah, you can find my Dutch reviews on budgetspeler.nl.
And talking about budget spelling, Anna Vassenberg.
Yes, so you can find my Dutch or my English reviews when I'll find the time again to do them on Dice Tower. You can find my videos there. My Dutch reviews on the Budgetspeler website, and you can also find me on the Budgetspeler Instagram and in gaming cafes near you. Hopefully soon.
Sorry about that. And of course, I want to say thank you very much to everyone. Anna,
Thanks for joining us.
Yoda, Matt, and of course, everyone in the audience. Thank you to, everyone who's still here. Thank you to everyone who's been chatting along, everyone who's just been popping in questions or just popping in and saying hello, or even those people who are lurking.
Yeah,
And if you're
popping in that
watching-
energy, that positive energy.
If you're watching this after the fact, then, my question for you is, how important, do you think it is to know how many times a game is played before reviewing? Do you think that reviewers should put it in? I don't think so, because that seems fraught with complications. Or if you want a lighter question, do you like cucumbers? I really like cucumbers. Do you like cucumbers?
They're water and food at the same time. It's amazing.
Yes, they're healthy and they're tasty. It's amazing. So, thank you very much, everyone. And it is, of course, over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. So what are you looking forward to doing? What do you need to be doing? Is there something fun and frivolous or super serious? Matt, what are you up to?
After this, I'm taking my mum shopping. This afternoon, I'll be watching the Formula One.
Yay!
Although apparently Max Verstappen crashed this morning, so there you go.
No, I didn't hear.
Apparently
Really?
he did in practice, yeah. And what else am I doing? I've got a new unboxing video to record. I got my copy of Die of the Dead not long ago, so I need to do that. And I also won some prizes in the Looney Labs raffle. So I've got I'm going to do a fun little video where they sent me a newspaper from 1999 that had an article about them in. So I'm going to go through the 1999 newspaper and see what was in the news and look at the adverts and all that kind of thing. Just for something a little bit different.
Funny.
It sounds fun.
There's a few. I saw a few things about the Millennium Bug in there, so we'll see what that's all about.
Yes. Curious and curiouser. Yoda, I know, you are going to be on a stream with me later today.
Yeah, we're both going to be on the stream with the Game Cupboard, which are starting their charity marathon stream in 15 minutes or something.
Wow.
At noon UK time. And I will be there at 5 p.m. UK time.
Where can we watch them?
The Game Cupboard.
The Game Cupboard.
Alex, could you give a shout out to the Game Cupboard? And
let's see if I beat Alex. I beat him.
Check out the Game Cupboard. They were last up to some board games. Fancy that.
They're doing a charity stream for Ehlers Danlos. I never heard of it before. Maybe Anna has, but I didn't hear about it before. So yeah, and we're going to play Wavelength.
Fun.
So yeah, that should be fun.
And a quick hello to Scrappy Kid popping in right at the end.
And Scrappy Kid will be in the same stream, right?
Yes, I think so. But Anna, what are you up to today? Do you want to give a shout out to anything?
Yes, I will probably make a very grown-up decision, and that will be to buy a car. Yeah.
Wow.
So
my
we're
gosh.
a second-hand car. It's not going to be a new car. But I've been taking driving lessons for about a year now, and I asked my driving instructor, okay, what should be my first new car? And he took me to a friend of his garage, and they had a pretty awesome car there, and we'll be taking a look at that today. Grown-up stuff, yay!
That sounds very, very grown up.
Yeah.
I am going to be doing a wee bits of laundry, a wee bits of messaging people. And where's my banner? If you want to check out my future streams, then check out stuffbybez.com/streams. But I should actually put... so I will personally be back in 4 hours. I am very tempted to part of me wants to just keep going, to just raid the game cupboard when they start, but then that would be disrespectful of your time. I guess I could say goodbye and then carry on, but that's what I was trying to avoid with the whole I'm going to stop. But check out the game cupboard. I'm going to be there as well later today. Today. It is a beautiful day. I might sit outside for a wee bit. Tomorrow I'm going to be streaming some video game, maybe a bit more root. I think that Monday I am having... today I'm having David Murcott and Mike Bonnet from Who What's Whycast and Chits and Giggles. Monday we're discussing publisher-reviewer relationships with Shem Phillips, Peter Blenkarn and Ellie Dix. Tuesday, meeting some Julia Schiller from the other side of the world, playing something again. Wednesday, I'll be making a game or not with Rita and Tiz, and then my special 400th stream is going to be starting at 10 a.m. UK time on Thursday, and I just want to give a shout out to all these amazing people who've confirmed their presence so far. So I am excited to say that while I was streaming, Scott Moore, just Uli Blenneman, Rob Harper, Sabina Gilhova, Anna Maria Jackson Phelps, Debbie Moynihan, Fertessa, Scott, Julie Ahern, Mike Nod, Mark Cook, Kathleen Mercury, David Murcutt, is popping in, Panic and Michael, Scrappy Kid, Peter Hazelwood, Mill, Tamea, Daniel Dancer, Maya Scripel, Abby Valdez, McCall, Janice Turner, Jessica Medringham, Rita Model, Jason Hodgson, possibly Molly Zeff, Isaac Vega, Alan Paul, Scott Halden, Suzanne Sheldon, Heather Newton, Frank West, Alex, Cardboard Kids, Dominic Krapuschetz, and Eric Lang. And all of those people are going to be on this one show.
I'll look at that later because I'll probably be coming on as well.
And it would be amazing to have you three
I'll
on,
hop
and
as well.
So old Uncle Tom Cobley and all. I've never
You've
heard
just reminded me as well, Bez. I'm interviewing Pete on Monday. So I'm
Peter Blenkarn.
Hazelwood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, lovely fellow. Yeah,
I
we
used to
played.
I used to
what
work
were
with
we
him.
up to?
So
Oh, where?
at the university, he worked there for a while.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is that, and I will start. You know what? I should probably start tweeting about my guests. I feel slightly bad because some of my special guests haven't given me photos, but I'm going to start posting about it on Twitter and Facebook today. But share, spread the word. I am going to raid someone. We're not going to just. Yeah, I've not heard of this old folk song, Old Uncle Tom Cobley. Has anyone else heard of this old folk song?
No.
Apparently.
Nope.
Matt, you're actually from the UK. Have you heard of this?
No, it's not that well known.
Okay. It's well known in the Harper household.
Ah.
That's what I've decided. It's well known to...
So only to Harper folk.
Yes. Now, please, who should we raid? Given that... oh my gosh, there's still no... If only the board... Should we just raid Board Game Cupboard and everyone can... That feels a bit sad, going there and then waiting for 13 minutes.
And give them pre-stream stress?
Can you raid a channel that's not live? I didn't think you could.
Yeah, you can raid a channel that's not live. And then everyone's just there, and then he chats in their chat room for some reason if you want to be. Yeah, well, let's have a vote. What do you think? Should we raid a musician because there's no board game people live right now, or should we raid the games cupboard given what they're about to embark on? Any first person to express an opinion, we will do that. No one wants to express an opinion.
No, I have no opinions. No, my family are outside, so here you go. Here's a nice gratuitous family shot.
What would you know? What I am going to raid the games cupboard, and raid is it? Yep. We'll raid the games cupboard. Oh wait, there's a little dot for some reason. Oh, my links are all broken in my shout outs. That's really not good. It adds a little dot to them. I need to fix that in my
Oh yeah.
shout out thing. Okay. So, yep. I guess if you want to do the raid message to add more pre-show stress, but we are going to go there, and I'm just going to leave my things there, and I'm not going to be doing anything for the next 10 minutes as far as the internet is concerned. But that is it. Unless anyone has anything left to say, then we are going to say bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go to do bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye, everyone. Bye, bye. Bye, bye. Okay. Yep. That's it. Oh, hello, Mike de Grief. Au revoir. And yep, see you soon. So, yep. I'll be back on in just over 4 hours. But bye-bye, Mike. Bye-bye, Rob. Bye-bye, Alex. Bye-bye, Scrappy Kid. Bye-bye, Anna. Bye-bye, Yoda. Bye-bye, Matt. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.